Okay, it is 5:15. If we can, we will bring the meeting to order. This is the March 8th, 2018 meeting of the Jefferson City Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Chris Jordan, and I'm the chairman of this commission. I'd like to remind all the commissioners and anyone in the audience, if they would please, to silence your phones and electronic devices, as well for any of the commission members and the audience, please. When you speak into the microphone so it can be recorded. If we would, we will start with introductions. I don't know if we have a council liaison here tonight. Okay. Michael, if you'd like to start then, sir.
Mike Lester.
Jack Deacon.
Bob George.
Dave Nunn.
Ann Strotman, City Staff.
Chris Yarnell.
Bunny Tricky Cotton.
Shane Wade, City Staff.
Eric Barron, City Staff.
Ian Zollinger, City Staff.
Sonny Sanders, City Staff.
Brian Wolford, City Staff.
Thank you. The City Code authorizes 9 regular members and 3 alternates. Alternates are designated to vote upon the absence or disqualification of a regular member. A quorum of 5 members or alternates is necessary to conduct business. Tonight, we have the regular following members that are absent is Dean Dutoy and Dale Vaughn. The alternates who are going to be absent this evening are Blake Marcus, Matthew Hall, and Michelle Mahoney. The voting members as follows will be Bunny Tricky Cotton, Jack Deacon, Bob George, Michael Lester, David Nunn, Chris Yarnell. Is there any member who would be disqualifying themselves from voting on any agenda item tonight? Seeing none. Next, we will move on to the call for cases. Our first case, case number P18003, 821 Magnolia Place, was a rezoning from RS3 to PUD. City staff has informed us that that was withdrawn by the applicant just a couple of days ago, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. The next case is case number P18004, 1802 Sun Valley Drive. We have a rezoning from C-1 to RS-2. Is there someone here to represent that case?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next case is P18005, 916 Boonville Road. It is a final subdivision plat of Cliffside Estates. Cliffside Estates. Is there someone here to represent that? Thank you. Have we received any other continuances for any of the cases? None?
We have distributed one item of correspondence, this case, to the case that was withdrawn, and that was distributed. We received a lot of correspondence about that case, but we have not copied and distributed it since it was withdrawn before this meeting, and we have received no other correspondence for any other cases.
Okay, thank you. Is there any request for reordering the agenda or any reason to reorder the agenda?
Except for removal of the one case that's been withdrawn, no.
Okay, thank you. If you would, Ian, would you please read the format of the hearing and order of testimony?
I would like to briefly describe the procedures of the Commission. The proceedings of this meeting are being recorded, so please step to the microphone when you speak and give your name and address for the record. The standard order of each case is as follows. After the introduction of the request by city staff, the applicant and their consultants will provide information on the request. The opening presentation by the applicant shall be limited to 10 minutes unless additional time is granted by the Commission. The applicant shall have 3 additional minutes for closing testimony if requested. We will then ask to hear from supporters of the request. We will then ask to hear from opponents of the request. We will then ask to hear from anyone else who wishes to speak on the request. Testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each unless additional time is granted by the Commission. City staff will then make their recommendations on the request. In order to reduce the time necessary to hear an application, reference to printed material, including staff reports and applicable findings, shall not be read into the record unless directed by the Commission. The Commission will close the testimony from the floor. The Commission will then discuss the proposal, then publicly make its determination with reasons. The form of the motion shall be positive, that is, the motion shall be made to accept the request as presented or with modifications, stipulations, or conditions. A final vote will be taken with ayes in favor, nays opposed. The chairman shall announce the results of the vote, specifying the number of votes cast in favor and the number of votes cast against. The following items are entered in as exhibits for all items under consideration at this meeting: the City Code of City of Jefferson, as amended, the Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Map, copies of applications under consideration, a list of property owners to whom notices were sent, the affidavit of publication of the public notice in the newspaper, copies, drawings, plans, and or renderings under consideration, letters or memoranda from staff, staff reports, meetings of proceedings, correspondence, or other materials submitted by the public or the applicant, rules of procedures for the City of Jefferson Planning and Zoning Commission. These items are public record and available for inspection in the Department of Planning and Protective Services or through the Office of the City Clerk. Please be advised that any items that are presented, distributed, or otherwise received pertaining to the cases under consideration become property of the Commission. This includes any photographs, drawings, petitions, and letters.
Thank you, Ian. I think our city liaison has showed up. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good morning, everybody. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My daughter had track practice today, so I couldn't make it on time. So, Carlos Graham, 4th Ward City Council, also the liaison to this commission. Glad to be here tonight.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. I think city staff has indicated there's no reason to amend the agenda, so we will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, just with the removal of the one case.
Okay. I'll restate that city staff is asking that to be removed.
Yes.
Okay.
I would move that we approve the agenda as presented with the exception of the removal of case P18003.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. All right. Ann has been nice enough to provide us with the minutes of the regular meeting of January 18th. If you'd like to take a minute to look through those again, and when you're ready, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Communications, we do have some correspondence that city staff has provided us, but I do believe that is for the withdrawn case, correct?
Yes, I was going to add to that just a little bit. We received a tremendous volume of correspondence for that case. Some of that was included within your packets that were sent out to you a week in advance of the meeting. We continue to receive correspondence on that case up to and even after the applicant withdrew the case. So we did not, as the case was not to be heard has been withdrawn. We did not copy that correspondence for you this evening. We have compiled it, and it is official record within that case file. The one item of correspondence, it's actually a fairly lengthy email exchange between myself and the applicant on a variety of different development topics, but it happens to be the email chain where the applicant did transmit to us that she would like to withdraw the case. And so the top line on there is really the most important one. The rest of it, a lot of it's really not relevant to the business here. Be happy to answer any questions on that. I know the case generated a lot of interest from the neighborhood, and that is the reason for this process, well, one of them. And so.
Great, Eric. Thank you. Do any of the commission members have any questions for Eric of other city staff about the withdrawal of the 821 Magnolia Place?
Are they involved permanently, or are they just going to come back and do something different?
And no, I believe it's a permanent withdrawal that the applicant's no longer going to be purchasing the property. So.
That's what the email said. That's what it said. Yeah.
Okay, anything else for city staff on the withdrawn case and the communications received? Okay, we will move on to new business and the public hearings. Again, case number P18003-821 Magnolia Place has been withdrawn. We will move on to the next case. It is case number P18004-1802 Sun Valley Drive. It is a rezoning from C1 to RS-2. Ian, do you have a staff report for us?
Yes.
Okay.
So I like to orient you here first to where the property is located. The property is located off of Sun Valley Drive, Sun Valley Drive 1802, which is just off of Southwest Boulevard right here. The next major intersection would be Southwest Boulevard and Route C right there to the south. The zoning of the property currently is C1. There has been some history with zoning the surrounding properties in the early 90s. Properties were zoned commercially to allow for their homes to be used as commercial offices. This property is currently zoned as C1 and is used as an office. The cause for this rezoning is the property owner feels it would be better used as single family use. According to the comprehensive plan update, this property is designated for low density residential, which supports the proposed zoning, rezoning to RS2. The property was originally used as a single family residence, but later converted into an office. Here is a closer image of the property. If you have any questions, I can answer those, and the applicant is here to answer other questions as well.
Thank you, Ian. Appreciate it. Do any of the commission members have any questions for Ian or other city staff at this point?
Was that LePage's place before the entrance?
I believe he owned it, and I believe it was located there for a number of years past.
I'm just trying to.
Any other questions for city staff by the commissioners at this point? Okay, if the applicant would come forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us a little bit why you're here this evening.
Thank you for having me. My name's Todd Miller. I'm a local attorney, for those of you who don't know me. This property is one of 7 that I own in the city of Jefferson. I own one just outside of the city of Jefferson. It was Ted LePage's old insurance office. Prior to that, I don't know the business purpose. I'm assuming at some point in time it was a single-family residence. I have found, much like boat owners, that sometimes the best day of ownership of a rental property is its conversion or its sale. This property, I get calls every week asking me to rent it as a residential unit. I don't get quite as many calls as a commercial unit. I am happy to say, though, that there is some interest that has peaked within the last 30 minutes. So, but I ask that you look at the application on its face. I think it's a successful application as rendered. There are adjacent properties that are residential that touch and concern this property. So I think it lends itself well to succeeding in its application. I don't know exactly what we'll do in the future, but I'd ask for your approval and movement towards City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do any of the commission members have any questions for him at this time? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and who would like to speak in favor of this request. Seeing none. We'll next ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and speak in opposition to this request. Seeing none. Lastly, we'll ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this request. If so, would please come forward. At this point, I was seeing none. I will close testimony. I will go back to city staff for staff report.
Staff recommends approval of the proposed rezoning. The zoning change from C1 neighborhood commercial to RS2 single-family residential is a change that is supported by the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Ian. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Ian or other city staff?
Just real quickly, I noticed in the staff analysis, it mentions that it would be an expansion of an existing district, and I'm assuming that's because it touches at the corner where the RS2 zoning comes down to it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions by the commissioners for city staff? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I would move to approve the request to rezone the property from C1 to RS2.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes with 6 in favor and 0 against. It will be forwarded to the city council. And Ian, when will that public hearing be?
That'll be April 16th.
April 16th?
Yes.
And again, that is a public hearing and
Yeah, April 16th here in the city council chamber at 6 p.m.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Next, we will move on to our other business. It is case number P18005, 916 Boonville Road. It is the final subdivision plat of Cliffside Estates. Ian, do you have some information on that for us?
I do. So I'd like to orient you here. The location of the property to be subdivided. The property is located at 916 Boonville Road. The property spans here east at Bel Air Drive. The intersection of Boonville and Bel Air expands east towards Belmont Drive, in between Boonville Road and the railway here. As you can see, the property is zoned RS2 and is completely surrounded by RS2 zoning district. There is one house currently on the property. The purpose of the request is to divide the current parcel into 3 lots. The house will remain on one of the lots, and the 2 others will become buildable lots. Here. This is where the house is right here, and the 2 other lots here and here will become buildable lots. And then if you have any questions, I can answer those. Shane will go over more of the technical details in his staff report, and I believe the applicants and their consultants are here to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Ian. At this point, maybe Shane will let you go ahead and give your information. That way, if commissioners have questions, it will maybe wrap some of that up.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as public improvements that coincide with the proposed subdivision plat, a sanitary sewer force main has been proposed to serve the lots of the subdivision. There's currently a private sanitary main that serves the existing house, and that would be upgraded. The city would be proposed to maintain the force main, and the lot owners then would be responsible for maintaining any pumps or private service connections to that proposed sanitary sewer. And we've gotten the okay from the wastewater division director on that proposal. There is additional right-of-way that has been proposed along Boonville Road. There's a slight sliver of right-of-way that's being proposed to dedicate, and that is to provide additional right-of-way for the existing roadway and to make sure that all the roadway is on right-of-way and not on the proposed lots. Construction of sidewalks has been deferred for this development. No other sidewalk exists on that north side of Boonville Road, and in the future, I believe it's the Public Works Division's, the Public Work Department's analysis that if there was sidewalk to be constructed along Boonville Road, that would occur on the south side of the roadway. In regard to any utilities, all the utilities exist currently in the vicinity. I believe overhead electric and gas are on the north side of the roadway. I believe water is out in the roadway, and street lights exist on the utility poles on Boonville Road. Fire hydrants exist at the intersections both over at Bel Air and at Belmont Drive. As far as our review, the plat comments have been mostly addressed with the latest revision of the proposal. The sewer plan comments have been sent back to the consultant for resubmittal, and we're awaiting that. Engineering staff would support the approval of this request, subject to any technical edits that are necessary yet on both the plat or the sewer plans. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Shane. Is there any other comments from city staff other than what you two gentlemen have provided us? That pretty well sum it up. Okay. Do any of the commission members have any questions for Ian or Shane at this point? All right. Seeing none, is there someone who would like to step forward and give their name and address for the record and present this case?
Power and numbers.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Glenn Miller. I am the liaison for A to Z Homes LLC and this project.
Would you mind giving me your address for the record?
My address is 3453A Horseshoe Road, Jeff City, Missouri. It's 65109.
Thank you, sir.
This is the owners right
Okay.
here. I'll let them.
If you would give us your name and address for the record, please.
My address or the property address?
Your address, sir.
All right. Name is Zach Seidner. Address is 12469 County Road 4047, Holt Summit, Missouri.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Karen Hellering, but I was just a liaison with city staff and with Glenn and kind of coordinated this project.
Okay. Would you mind giving us your address for the record?
My address is 3219 Victoria Court, Jefferson City, Missouri.
Thank you, Karen. Glenn, I'm assuming you'll present this to the commission?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to say thanks to the city staff and everybody for being such a wonderful help to us. It was absolutely great to work with them on this project. And so, with that said, yes, we've just asked for a minor subdivision on this property. The two extra lots over the existing, so we've come here to see and if we can get this passed and get this project rolling for the owners.
Do you have any issues? Staff mentioned there might be some more technical corrections that need to be addressed. Do you have any concerns with those?
No,
Okay.
those will be addressed.
Thank you. Would the owner like to say anything, or? Okay. Commission members have any questions for Mr. Miller at this point? Thank all of you all for coming up.
Thank you all.
Next, we'll move on to see if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this request. If so, please come forward. Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to this request? If so, please come forward. Seeing none. Lastly, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this request? Please come forward. Again, seeing none. With that, I will close testimony. Ian, I will ask you for the staff report.
The final subdivision plat meets the requirements for subdivision plats as outlined within the subdivision code. Staff recommends approval of the plat subject to comments and technical corrections by city staff.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Shane, do you have anything further? I do not. Very good. Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions for city staff? Seeing none, if someone would like to make a motion.
Move to approve the final subdivision plat of Cliffside Estates subdivision subject to comments and technical corrections by city staff.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The motion passes 6 in favor and 0 against. Again, this will be forwarded to the city council, and when will this be there?
April 16th at
Again,
6
April
p.m.
16th. This room at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for coming this evening. We will move on to other business. We have an update on the South Side Old Munichburg Neighborhood Plan. Who's presenting that tonight?
Yeah, well, we do have some other updates to the Soybean Association PUD, rezoning to PUD and preliminary PUD plan has been approved by City Council, and we await their final PUD plan. With the
That's
South
the one out on South
Country Club. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
With the South Side, currently we are still doing our background research, and we are hoping to present that information at the April 12th meeting, and we will go forward from there. Also we have a special meeting. Planning and Zoning will have a special Planning and Zoning meeting on March 19th at 5:15 p.m. here in these chambers.
29th.
Excuse me, I even have it written down here, March 29th. March 29th here in these chambers at 5:15 to hear one case. We do not anticipate that meeting to take very long, so we hope to see you there.
Very good. Thank you, Ian. Eric, do you have anything for us?
No, no, and then I'll say a few things. But yeah, we don't necessarily like to call special meetings. I think that we had a little bit of a miscommunication with a potential business that is locating in town. We'd like to get that case before you as soon as possible, so that we can get that request processed. But hopefully it'll be a minor matter. But with any rezoning case, there is a process to go through there, and we're interested to see what the property owners around the area think of it. But we're proceeding in that manner, and we'll have one case for you for that special meeting.
Well, I appreciate you guys working with everybody involved in the situation, and hopefully the commission members can take a few minutes out of their evening and see if we can keep things moving forward, whatever the decision is ultimately made. Do you want to address the book that was handed out to us in any way? Does anybody got anything to say on that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I went to a certified local government conference, and an attorney for another city gave a presentation on commissions and boards and committees in regards to the sunshine laws that we have here in the state. And I picked up some good information about the responsibilities of what you all do. And I believe there's a sheet attached to that of some of the chapters of importance. I'm just going to recommend that you review those just in case you are asked questions, and maybe if you all meet together somewhere, don't talk about business and things like that. Just a reminder. Most of the stuff you're probably familiar with, but I'm distributing or we're distributing that to all of the groups that we work with in planning and protection services. So it's just for your information. There are some things that I would encourage you to read it, because you may accidentally do something that opens yourself to personal liability, and I would not want that to happen.
We appreciate that. One of the things that you might think about going forward, I know in years past that we had done some lunch and learns years ago with having the commission come in and maybe talk about those things, whether the city staff attorneys would have time to do that. I know, once again, if you get too many of us in a room together, then you've got to say it's a meeting or something, but something to maybe consider. I think everybody just, if you're not refreshed, on a regular basis, can kind of lose sight of that. I know myself and some of the other commission members get phone calls and, stopped on the street periodically by people that are involved in cases and all that, and it is kind of difficult. Obviously, we're a smaller community, and a lot of people know a lot of other folks that are involved. So I think, like you say, just try to do the right thing, and we'll go from there. But something maybe consider, if you guys ever think that a lunch and learn or something like that, or maybe come in one evening a little early or stay a little late or something, if that would benefit us with just a brief refresher. I know I could use it. Any other comments from the commissioners this evening? If no, we will say the meeting is adjourned. Thanks everybody for coming.